comfortably in 650 to 750 range. So his calculation of dollar amount is based on a very low end property value. The second thing is that he does not mention to the residents of Markham that York region has always hiked taxes. This year they hiked 1.54%. He doesn't mention the dollar increase from York region. So he's only keeping it confined. Then thirdly, he doesn't mention that, okay, I'm trying to fool you on property taxes here, but I'm increasing quietly the swimming fees, skating fees and all those fees at about 7 to 10% a year. Then he does not tell that he is increasing water fees. Our water rates have almost doubled or tripled in last few years. Why should be water fees be going up? Because they are in panic mode. Our water bill almost is half of our hydro bill, which we get from power stream. A lot of residents don't realize that. So any money going from our pocket is indirectly a tax which Markham charges residents to manage its operations. They don't charge it obviously in the property tax, but they charge it from other sources so that the residents only are aware of the property tax and they are not able to see anything else. Now I want to bring a relationship between York region and Markham, because my slogan in this election is that I want to take Markham out of York region, and there is a reason to it. If you see, I have been professing even in 2006 in my flyer, which I have kept there, my top thing was that to save you and your children from spiraling debt of York region. And this is the flyer which was for 2006. And in 2010 I had the similar flyer, and my slogan was the same. And people think how Partap Dua is talking about York region. We live in Markham. But the problem is, we do live in Markham, but we are child of York region. We have direct control of York region on our heads, on our families. I'll give you a little synopsis about York region so that you journalists are quite aware, and when you discuss and we discuss, you are able to understand. York region was created in 1971 as a region. It was based on the concept of counties in Canada and all these European and Western countries. They have counties. They formed a county to control a couple of rural areas, because rural areas in Canada were spread to large distances. So they wanted to have a county government so that it could act as a central government and provide support to all peripheral villages and peripheral rural communities. But when we started evolving as rural towns into townships, they came up with another flawed concept of region. So they launched a couple of regions across Ontario and also in some provinces like Alberta. And York region was one of them. That time our population of Markham was between 40,000 to 50,000. Okay, very small population. And even York region had 100-some thousand residents. So that time this concept was okay, because we had an unsustainable population, so we needed some support from each other. So Richmond Hill and all these communities, nine communities were brought under York region. But today we are a strong population of 340,000 people. That is an official figure. Unofficial might be 380 people who are unaccounted for. Now we are able to manage our own finances. We have a lot of money because we get $565 million in taxes from our residents. We can keep that $565 million to ourselves. We don't have to give to York region. We only have to give for school boards, maybe $100 million or so. Why do we have to give $565 million to York region as of now? There's an interesting thing. In 2000, around 2000, 5 municipalities of Ontario separated from regions. And they were Haldimand, Ottawa, which was part of Ottawa-Carleton region. Then there was Brantford. And then there were Hamilton. And then there was Sudbury. Most of these cities, except Ottawa and Hamilton, are smaller than Markham in size. So under Mike Harris' rule of Conservatives in Ontario, he was very determined to give self-government to cities, 5 cities. Then he didn't stop there. He introduced a law to separate Toronto from regional government of Metro Toronto. So in 2001, Toronto got separated. So Toronto, like Brantford, Hamilton and other these cities, is in a position to pass its own laws, financial laws, and it can tax its own citizens the way it likes. So I am campaigning that we should not give $565 million of our money to York region. And there is another thing. In the name of Markham, York region gets annual grants from federal government and the provincial governments, and they are over $125 million. And those grants would also be ours. So we will have, instead of hundreds of million dollars, we will have about $500-600 million at our disposal, and we are very capable to manage our cities. Now the second concern I have got is the debt burden of York region. When I ran for election in 2006, their target was to raise about $2 billion from stock markets and bond markets just to start some capital projects in York region. Now you have to imagine York region debt is nobody's debt, it is Markham's debt, because Markham is the biggest city of York region. We are the 16th largest city in Canada. So York region being a dominant municipality in York region, we bear the debt load that borrowing what York region is doing. So from $2 billion, they went to $7.6 billion of borrowing. And they have been on continued borrowing spree. And that money, they have amassed a budget of $3.2 billion in York region, which we couldn't care less. In the name of we have certain common facilities like police, courts, community services and all that. Can't we manage our own police? We can. There are a lot of cities which are managing their own police. All independent cities are managing.
Mr. Chair, I have a suggestion. Is it possible?
Created York region, and if they want to separate us, the province will have to pass a law. As a mayor, I can influence the province, as Hazel McCallion was doing for Mississauga. She tried to get Mississauga out of Peel region, but she didn't really push it hard because Peel is comprised of only 2-3 cities. So it was hard for Peel to let Mississauga go. But in Markham we have 9 cities. We have Vaughan, we have Richmond Hill, strong cities. So they can still support York region. So in Markham it is doable, and we want to have our more personalized police in Markham, because police is indifferent to Markham residents. The way they treat people, they don't understand cultures. So they are still living in a colonial era, because the police headquarters in Newmarket. I want to have more personalized courts, because courts are provincial, but cities run the courts. So in York region, only 10 million is spent on the running of operations of the courts. And after taking those filing fees from the people, the only money they spent is about $1.5 million on the whole court system. So that is why you see those courts are a very torturous place. People don't get good treatment at the windows, at the counters. So we can run our own community services. If we have so much of money, $600 million left with us instead of $125 million, we can do wonders. And then I immediately want to cut the property tax, because I don't want to use all that $400 extra million which I'll have. I'll straight away cut 30% by property taxes and pass it back to the taxpayers. I feel the affordable property tax for residents is around $4,000 level, which is a difficult thing to achieve, but I will strive to reach those targets. But immediately I'll cut 30 million. Then I'll streamline the workforce of Markham, and I will save another $40 million. And those $40 million I intend to spend on seniors, because my slogan in this campaign is I want to make Markham a paradise for seniors. we have a lot of aging population in our homes, and I want them to be looked after by their own people rather than sending them to community homes and all that. So I want to give tax breaks to those families who have very, very elderly people for whom they have to care, or people who are disabled, have deformities, or have developed certain things that they can't work. I also want to help single mothers, and all this $40 million I'll channelize towards those things. And I want to give guaranteed summer jobs to all high school students in Markham from that $40 million. So this thing is doable in the first year of my tenure, because the moment I streamline the workforce, I have a lot of money left over. And secondly, I will encourage local hiring in city. At present, we have over 60% people from outside Markham, maybe 70%, because when I ask them the freedom of information, they don't tell me what is the composition of the workforce. Now, a very startling fact I want to give you. In Markham, we have 72% visible minorities, and we have one chief executive officer in Markham city, which is called Chief Admin Officer, CAO. He is the top manager of the city. Then we have 3 commissioners, and then we have 10 operating directors, senior operating directors, who manage the whole city. So in all, we have 14 people who are running this city. And you will be shocked that not even one of them is a visible minority. And that I have taken up, and if you see this brochure in Chinese also, in all languages, I wrote it boldly in 2006 brochure, at the back of this brochure. And this was my slogan. I challenged them in debates, and he said, oh, we'll hire visible minorities soon. Now we have gone 8 years. There's not even a single director. So this speaks about the diversity of inclusiveness. You can go and make fool of people. You can go to Chinese parties and tell them, oh, Markham is very inclusive and all that. Why they are running Markham with, a single community means why they are not involving every community to run operations of Markham. So that is a very stark thing which I wanted to bring it to your notice. And lastly, about transit, which is a very important thing, and lot of candidates come out with their factual things that I will do this, I'll focus on transit, I'll do this, congestion and all that. I have got a novel idea. I don't discuss this thing very often, because I've seen whatever issues I take up in my plans, because I devote a lot of time on these things, they are picked up by other candidates. Like when I took up a city status for Markham in my 2 elections, Mayor Scarpetti picked it up, and they said we have made Markham a city. They have made Markham a city only in notional terms. It's not actually a city. The council can pass a law and give any name to Markham, city of Markham, town of Markham, village of Markham. That doesn't make it an independent city. But that was my slogan, so partially he picked it up. But none of the councillors has ever talked to you about your budgets, your taxes, or York region, or why they want to keep Markham in part of York region. Regional councillors will not tell you, because they want to be elected as regional councillors again and again. So I am the only one who has told this thing. So I don't discuss my transit plan also very openly, because somebody will pick it up and then claim, oh, this was my plan. I want to give just a summary of my transit thing. In Canada, they are oblivious to the developments in Asia. India, China and other countries are developing at such a fast speed, and here they don't want to accept, as if it is their insult, that, oh, if we get technology from there, if we follow that path, then they will think we were masters, and how come we are selecting this path now? Here to lay 2-3 kilometers of rail line, they spent billions of dollars. I was surprised for just the air link to the airport, which was basically 1 kilometer from that highway there. They were having a budget of couple of $1 billion. There is a old boys club in Canada, which a lot of immigrants are unaware of. There are people operating at high levels. They get the crux of this thing. Millions and is a pocket change for them. When they get bid